going to just let everybody each talk about who they are. Just your name. Introduce yourself.
Okay, this is the Villa Park.
You got a bank account.
Hi, this is the Villa Park Environmental Concerns Commission for Thursday, September 27th. The Environmental Concerns Commission talks about activities and events and programs and recommends them to the village board. We're just going to go around the room. I am Jess Spivak. I'm the chairman of the commission.
Justin Schlonsky, chairperson.
Ellen Draconis, member.
Sandy Hill, member.
Bob Wagner, a liaison to the commission.
Okay, call meeting to order. It's 7:06 p.m. We're all here, so we have a quorum. Yay. Approval of agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as it's written.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Agenda approved. Introduction of visitors. We have Heidi Hartman of the city's Citizens Climate Lobby. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You want to go ahead and start your presentation?
Yes, I would love to.
Okay.
First, I want to thank Bob Wagner for arranging to let me speak to you tonight. I really applaud the Environmental Concerns Commission for their interest in the climate change resolution, and I'd like to tell you more about it, how it came to be, and how you can possibly support it. But before I do that, I'm going to go through a few slides just in general about climate change. I feel like that is we need to have the background before we can really fully appreciate the importance of having the resolution on the ballot for this meeting. So, climate change is a human interest. We have 7 billion people on the planet now, and we built our society on the assumption that our climate will stay relatively the same over time and not have really large swings. And although there have been times of higher and lower temperatures in history, right now we're at a higher level of temperature than we've seen during human history, and it's really difficult for not just humans but other species to adapt to the rapid change. So I want to go through a few of the local impacts of climate change that we're seeing in the Midwest. For background, the Midwest is home to about 20% of the U.S. population and about 20% of GDP. We are here seeing changes mostly through increasing temperatures and flooding. And that's impacting our farms, our crops, fishing, recreation. We're seeing more invasive species, and we're seeing higher levels of disease like West Nile fever that are insect-borne vectors. States, I think maybe you hear more about some of these places, like Texas. In Montana, you're seeing the glaciers melting very quickly and increased levels of forest fires. Florida, we've got sea level rise, flooding, hurricanes, and extreme heat. And I mean, as we know, just recently, the wildfires in California are really frightening. I have relatives who live there, and it's frightening me to think about what might be happening to their lungs breathing the smoke from those wildfires. So for climate change, we know that burning fossil fuels, coal, oil, gas, produces carbon dioxide. Here's a graph that shows how we've increased in use of these fossil fuels and therefore carbon emissions since the mid 1800s, and we really took off about 1950 in using all of these sources. Gas is increasing more recently, so, but that's partially a good thing because it's replacing coal, but which has higher levels of carbon dioxide emissions. So I want to go into just a little bit. There's a natural greenhouse effect where the atmosphere holds in, the composition holds in some of the heat from the sun, and that is, in the good sense, that's what keeps the Earth's temperature about 60 degrees above what it normally would be, and that has led to, sustained life on this planet. However, as you get more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, that molecule has a characteristic of trapping the heat and not from the sun, and keeping more of it in around our atmosphere than would otherwise be the case. So this is just sort of a depiction of, to help you imagine how the carbon dioxide, as it builds up in the atmosphere, as the heat tries to bounce off the Earth's surface, it gets held, some more of it. In fact, 43% more. Additionally, there are other greenhouse gases besides carbon dioxide. Methane is one of them, and we've got 100% more methane in the atmosphere now than we did prior to about 1950. So it's a lot of additional heat trapping in the atmosphere. And we're seeing this in temperature changes that can be measured. I think here it's really interesting to note that we are already almost 2 degrees above the 1880 temperature in Fahrenheit. That's a little less than 1 degree centigrade. And that 10 of the hottest years on record have occurred since 1998. And that record keeping began, I put a note down for myself, began in 1880. So it's been, it really has been changing. There is so much information about climate change out there, and one source is a source called Climate Central, and it plots any city that you want to see the change in temperature from 1950 to present. And I think it's interesting here. On the left, on the right, you see Detroit, and you see that pretty much there's been a steady increase in temperatures. And I checked the graphs for about 10 U.S. cities, and almost all of them look like Detroit. It was a clear trend. And I think it's interesting that in Chicago, there has, for various reasons, there was not as clear a trend, although you see that we are on an increase in the last 10 years very much. But sometimes I wonder, in this area, it seems like people have a harder time believing that climate change is happening than in some other places in the U.S. And I wonder if some of it has to do with that it happens that our temperature increase hasn't been as, it hasn't been a steadily upward trend all the time, even though it is happening. Okay, just quickly, there's a lot of talk about, it could be all these other sources. The sun, might be at a closer angle or getting warmer, and that's not the case. It can't be the Earth's orbit and rotation, because that would show that we'd be getting cooler. And it can't be natural seasonal cycles when the entire planet's warming is getting, that's outpacing things like El Nino and La Nina that you hear about sometimes. So also you often hear that there's disagreement among scientists. And I am not exactly a climate scientist, but I am a scientist by background. I have a master's in environmental toxicology from University of Minnesota, and I've been practicing environmental assessment and remediation for my whole career. And I you know, I look at the literature and you really don't see much disagreement. This analogy here to, you know, 1 in 100 leaves on a tree, or 3 in 100 is, I think, really accurate. So it's hard to fight some of these arguments you hear sometimes, but if you really want to seriously look into it, you'll see that climate scientists agree that the Earth is warming. So let me see, I got some leaves still moving here. So there's a way to solve this problem, and that is to greatly decrease greenhouse gas emissions. So now I'm going to get to the York Township resolution, just to show a little bit more locally how the citizenry can perhaps impact what the U.S. does on climate change. So I've been interested in this for a while, and myself and some other members of Citizens Climate Lobby and also Elmhurst Cool Cities Coalition presented a petition at the York Township annual meeting. Well, the requirement is that you get a number of signatures and present them along with the proposed resolution prior to a deadline in March. And then if you do that, they will entertain your resolution at the township meeting. And we did this both in 2016 and 2018, and the text of the resolution that would be on the November ballot is, shall our representatives and senators in the U.S. Congress sponsor and or support measures that will address the serious threat posed by climate change. It's a pretty simple resolution. What we're hoping for from this resolution is that our representatives in Congress get the message that the citizens are behind them acting on this, because they always need grassroots support for their action. So what happened was that the way you can get this resolution on the ballot is just by a simple show of hands from the people that are at the meeting. And in 2016, the resolution was defeated. There wasn't a lot of prep work done for the resolution, and I think we learned that we really had to get out and let people know ahead of time that this was going to be discussed at the York Township meeting. But we were very happy that it overwhelmingly passed in 2018, and the township members present at the meeting agreed that this should be on the November ballot. So I wanted to show, we had a little independent article right after that happened to show that the resolution would be on the ballot in November. And since that time, people that are concerned about climate change in the community, again, particularly my group, Citizens Climate Lobby, and the Elmhurst Cool Cities Coalition, we've been trying to publicize the fact that this resolution will be on the ballot. And we put together this flyer, and I'm going to leave some copies with you here tonight. We also have a Spanish version of it. And we want to make sure that our legislators know that we support, as this community, their action on climate change. What I'd like to do now is just spend a little bit of time. I won't take much of your time. I know you have business to do, but I want to tell you a little bit more about the specific proposal of Citizens Climate Lobby. They are working to get carbon fee and dividend passed by the U.S. Congress. So let me explain a little bit what that is. It has three components, really. A fee would be placed on fossil fuels at the source. The fee would start at a relatively low rate and increase annually, giving the economy time to adjust and for more renewable energy to come online, and for other innovative ways to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions to come online. All the money that would be collected under this proposal would be returned to households equally. This would have the effect of offsetting the increasing costs of fossil fuels. It would reward people who want to change to lower fossil fuel using sources of energy and more fuel efficient cars. So it would actually result in the 2/3 of the U.S. Households would either be better off monetarily or about even. And it would be the wealthier households that would end up paying more for this, but they could also decrease their costs if they chose to become more fuel efficient and use less oil and heat, etc. The last part of this is an economy protection. This border carbon adjustment would be levied on countries or imports of fossil fuels from countries that did not have a similar carbon tax, so that people couldn't try to get cheap sources that weren't taxed from other countries. And another good impact of that border fee adjustment is that it would really encourage other countries to enact similar legislation. So, real quickly, a few more. Not only would we have emissions reductions with a carbon fee and dividend, 31% within 10 years and 50% within 20 years. We would also create jobs, quite a lot, 2.1 million in 10 years, 2.8 in 20 years. And we do have economic studies that would go into the specifics of these findings. It would increase our GDP also. And then another factor is that lives would be saved, because when you reduce fossil fuel emissions, you not only reduce carbon dioxide, but there's a lot of other harmful chemicals in fossil fuels, particulate matter, nitrous oxides, and those have a real impact that can be measured in terms of excess deaths from lung disease and asthma in the U.S. So that's a really big benefit of reducing carbon emissions. So, all right, I'm going to skip a few. I don't want to go on and on about this, but there are benefits. So the way that Citizens Climate Lobby operates is through teaching individual citizens how to exercise their political will. Our most important function is to lobby members of Congress. We have liaisons to almost every member of Congress. We visit with them a couple times a year, so we are really getting the message across. I think everyone in Congress knows what carbon fee and dividend is. We also work to publicize what carbon fee and dividend is in letters to editors, op-eds, just the media in general. We do public speaking and try to get the message out that way. And we have now close to 500 chapters. And there are some even international chapters. There's in Canada and other countries. This is definitely an international interest. I want to highlight some of our success, and one of the biggest is the Climate Solutions Caucus in the House of Representatives. We think that we can't work together on issues, but this is a completely bipartisan caucus, and it's got 43 Republicans and 43 Democrats. They are not, at this point, they are not necessarily endorsing carbon fee and dividend, but they are studying things to do about climate change. And that is really important, and we hope to continue this trend to acknowledge that this is not a partisan issue. Carlos Curbelo is a representative, a Republican representative from Florida, and he just this summer introduced a bill to put a price on carbon. It's not exactly carbon fee and dividend because the revenues would generally go towards funding new infrastructure, but the concept of a price on carbon coming out of Congress from a Republican member is huge. So that's another encouraging sign. There's also, in the investment community, there is a Standard & Poor's carbon risk price index now that will allow people to assess their investments based on the carbon risk from that company, assuming there will be a carbon price. I think, Department of Defense, the investment community, they know that this is needed and it's coming. It's just a matter of getting the legislation passed to really start to address it. So I just wanted to, put that out there about Citizens Climate Lobby. It's a great organization, and if you have a chance to support fee and dividend in any of your discussions around climate change, that would be great. But I want to end again with our local York Township resolution. And are there any questions about the resolution or what we're doing to try to get people to know about it? We'd like people to have considered before they see it on the ballot. And so also if you have any suggestions for me and what we might do in Villa Park, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Bob.
Heidi, just a question. If people want to, like all campaigns, it costs money. So if they wanted to, if a citizen wanted to donate to your effort to get more material out to voters, how could they donate?
Well, right now we don't have a monetary function. So basically our group members have just contributed the money to print flyers, which is why we don't have a lot. So if someone wanted to do that, they could, I would go with them or send them the file and let them print flyers to distribute them. That would be a great help because it is pretty expensive.
Great. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your presentation.
Oh, you're welcome.
If we have flyers, where's the best place to have them posted to get the most people to actually see them? Or do you have recommendations of where we should post, aside from maybe the library or other? We have some at the Elmhurst Library, and we've been going to various political events to post them, which I do want to say it's not a partisan issue, but we would bring these to both Democrat and Republican forums given the opportunity. So we are thinking of doing some canvassing door to door on the weekend still with the flyers before the election, just to think. I understand that's a fairly effective thing to do. So, and we're always welcoming volunteers for that too. So.
Heidi, I have a few questions. Is the Citizens Climate Lobby organized as a not-for-profit or other corporate entity?
It is. There's two parts of it.
Okay. There's
the Citizens Climate Education side, which is a not-for-profit, and then the direct lobbying side can't be. It's not. I think it's not for profit, but it can't be. It's not considered a charitable organization.
Understood. Of the, if I'm doing the math right, 86 representatives and/or Congress persons that you have listed that are in support of the lobby. Are any of them from Illinois?
Yes, there are. And in fact, you'll find this interesting. Peter Roscom joined the Citizens Climate Lobby not too long ago. And there's sometimes concerns that Republicans might want to join to sort of give lip service to addressing climate change, but we don't look at it like that. Them being in the caucus brings them to conversation about the issues, and is a good thing either way, we believe. So, but there are a few others from Illinois whose names I should have at the tip of my tongue. Well, you can see Daniel Lipinski is on here. Interestingly, Mike Quigley is not on here, and he would be, but you have to find a Republican to join with you. So there is a little bit longer of a waiting list of Democrats that are willing to join, but they're waiting to convince additional Republicans.
So that is a requirement of the Climate Solutions Caucus that you cannot join unless you have a counterpart across the aisle?
Yes. Okay. They only come in 2 by 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said Representative Roscom and Representative Lipinski, respectively, of the 6th and then the 3rd? If I have my numbers and districts correct?
Oh, this isn't one of those things that I can make bigger. I can give you a whole list sometime soon if I have an idea how I can do this.
You don't have to do it right now.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to take any more of your effort from this wonderful presentation. With the first consideration or item of the carbon fee and dividend, you indicated that it would be essentially a flat return, or sorry, the second item, return net revenues to households equally. So essentially correlating with some, an analogy would be like a flat tax rate. Essentially, it's the flat return rate across the board, regardless of income level. And regardless of usage, it's just across the board a return?
Yes,
okay.
It is regardless. So the incentive to use less would be in the fact that fossil fuel prices are going up. So, but everyone, the specifics are such that it would be the same amount for every household and 2 children. You don't. I think it increases if it's just 1, 2, 3, or 4. But then after that, there's no additional increase.
Okay, so essentially, globally, the less a state or a municipality uses, the higher the return. Would that be correct?
Well, yes. So this no state or government entities would be receiving the dividend. That would all go to households, but they would be saving in terms of their costs.
So that leads me to the next question of who would be monitoring the collection and then the return process.
So my understanding is that it would be sort of an existing government entity. I want to say through the not through the census. I mean, they would have to have the census information, but it through the IRS, I believe, is how they would do it. And there are some. There's a lot of economists, Brookings Institution type people that have looked at this, and they say it's the simplest thing to implement because we already have a system where we know we're connected to every taxpayer. They've done something similar in Alaska at the state level, where they have a return that goes to each citizen based on their their collections from oil production. So that it could be modeled off of that.
Okay. So while you're asking that the resolution be implemented on a township level, the caveat, or rather possibly another goal of your lobby, would be for the carbon fee and dividend program to be enacted nationally.
Yes, we are working at the national level. Some states are trying to enact carbon fee and dividend at the state level. I believe it's going to be on the ballot in Washington in November. but it would be so much more effective if it was at the national level.
Okay. One last question. I know I've kind of thrown a lot at you. Obviously, we're part of York Township. Villa Park is located
Yeah.
within our township. Have you gotten positive responses from neighboring townships and or across the state to support a resolution of similar language?
The ballot, or the resolution, was passed to be on the ballot in several townships in 2016.
Okay.
And those included not Berwyn or Cicero's Township, and what was the other one? Was it Homer Township? Anyways, I will get to more of the specifics on that because I have it in emails. I've been sending it to people. So it was on the neighboring township ballots in 2016, and all of them it was a favorable outcome for the resolution by 75 to 85% of the electorate said, yes, we support this resolution. It will be on the ballot this time around, not just in York Township, but also in Lyons Township. So it's, gonna see a little bit wider distribution than just York Township.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And yeah, I don't mind answering questions and talking about this. In fact, I love it. So there's a lot. It would be a big change to do national fee and dividend. It would be nice if we could do it sooner rather than later, because it's something that really brings down our emissions is going to be needed, and it's just going to be that much harder to reduce the impact if we don't do it soon. So, all right, I really appreciate that you let me speak to you tonight. I'm going to leave these with you. There's mostly English version, some Spanish version, and would you like a paper copy or the electronic copy?
Electronic.
Can I send it to the
Yeah, you
electronic
can
version
send it to me.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Moving on to Chairman's report. All I have to say is that I was informed from Sustain DuPage nonprofit that they are offering a TS permaculture class this Sunday at the Theosophical Society in Wheaton. And if you're interested, I can send you you do have to register. There's a fee. And it's $20 for non-members and $15 for Theosophical Society members. It's a training tool in how to grow a fruit tree guild. The class will be taught by the Resiliency Institute.
What was the date again?
It's going to be this Sunday.
Okay.
That's September 30th, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have a registration where I can tell you, it's kind of long, but it's www.theosophical.org/component/civic-rm/question mark task =civic-rm/event/register&&reset=1, which, because it's quite long, I'll just send you in an email.
Thank you.
And then the other thing is that Sustain DuPage's EC3 meeting is scheduled this Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Glen Ellen Public Library. Normally it's at the Village Hall or the Civic Center, but it's under construction, so it's going to be at the library this Saturday. And we are actually, Villa Park is going to be mentioned on the agenda because I sent, I had a shout out asking if anybody had press releases or a shout out for commissioners' requests. So because I sent the pilot program, Clean Your Locker pilot program press release to them, they're mentioning it at the meeting this Saturday.
Nice.
The other agenda items that will be discussed at the EC3 meeting will be the old businesses, the Blooming Fest recap, municipal curbside food scrap collection, again, the press release from Villa Park, a thank you to Westmont for posting on the EC3 badge, and a vote on the Citizens Climate Lobby letter of support.
What date is that again?
That's 10 a.m. Saturday. They also are going to demonstrate a PowerPoint presentation, DOFS Facebook group, a bunch of other things I'm not quite sure I understand. So they anticipate that it'll be about an hour to 2 hours. So, and that's all I have to say. Bob?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just make my liaison's report as quick as possible. At each commissioner's place, I put a little report that this is a report from the Illinois Department of Health, and it has a report about the incidence of West Nile virus across the state. If you look at the map, there is a cluster in DuPage County, and looks like statewide there have been 63 cases of West Nile virus. There's actually been a case reported in Villa Park, and there's been several cases in DuPage County. And for that reason, the village decided to implement a village-wide spraying. And I know that a lot of us are not happy about village-wide spraying, but there were 2 village-wide sprayings that took place. Just to let members of the public know that the chemical that they're using is a less noxious. They changed over from a pyrethrin-based chemical, and it's less noxious. It's less harmful to the environment. So I think the interest of public health outweighs other interests. So there was that did occur. I was at the Illinois Municipal League last week, and I did run into our rep, Jack Fenish from Clark, and he provided me with a DVD, which I'm going to pass along to the chairman of the Cable Commission. It describes their program, Integrated Pest Management, talks about what citizens can do to reduce mosquito larvae by cleaning out bird baths, stagnant water, etc. So just wanted to report on that. There were 2 incidences of issues that kind of came to the commission. You may recall a couple of months ago, there was a resident who came from the Riverside, Washington Street area. This is regarding a parcel that was basically clear-cut. The owner of that property has 2 administrative appearances that he's going to make to kind of restore the area. The village is working with him and to make sure that he takes care of that issue. And there's a regular communication between village staff and the residents in that area. There was another case where that you, Madam Chair, were copied on. This is a woman who had some health issues and was complaining about air quality. I did speak with her over the phone. It's primarily secondhand smoke that she's concerned about.
Okay.
And I know that Fire Chief Rakosnik was going to reach out to her, did reach out to her, because we were concerned that there may be people who were using open fire pits, and that may have diminished the air quality. But her primary concern is secondhand smoke in her apartment complex.
Okay.
So I did speak with her about that. I did attend the last month's Elmhurst Cool Cities meeting, and I did speak with Dan Payne from the Elmhurst Park District. He's Director of Parks for Elmhurst Park District. And through Elmhurst Cool Cities, they're designating certain parks that are chemical-free areas. And kind of been playing phone tag with him, but looking forward to talking with him to get more information about that program, which I'll be happy to pass along to the commission. Also, at last month's meeting, I mentioned to the commissioners about a proposal from Simple Recycling. And just very quickly, Simple Recycling picks up primarily clothing, fabrics, even distressed fabrics, household items, and they do a curbside recycling, a curbside pickup the same day as normal refuse and recycling occurs. And I did pass along that proposal to the village manager, village president, and they communicated with our waste hauler, Roy Strom, and Roy Strom is on board with it. So I expect and I'm hopeful that this will come on a future village board agenda. And I've just got a flyer that I picked up. The person who represents Simple Recycling was at the Illinois Municipal League as well, and I did speak with him, and they're looking to grow the program in Illinois and Chicago, so I'll just pass this flyer along as well. I did attend, as I mentioned, I attended the Illinois Municipal League for one day on September 20th, and I attended a number of seminars that kind of had environmental themes. One specifically was the Future Energy Job Act and ways that communities can promote and support solar energy in their communities. Another one that I did attend was on energy audits that are available to local governments through ComEd and through NICOR, and I'm going to pass along that information to the village manager.
Was that in Elmhurst?
No, it was downtown.
Okay.
This is Illinois Municipal League is it's open to all municipalities in Illinois. It's held downtown at the Hilton. It's a pretty large. It's an annual event and a pretty large one. And lastly, just want to let commissioners know and folks in the public know that there will be a bike valet at Brewfest, which is this coming Saturday, May 29th, from 2 to 5:30 p.m. We're still looking for volunteers to help with the bike valet, and of course the bike valet will help reduce congestion and to a very small extent greenhouse gas. So if anyone would like to volunteer for any time period whatsoever, we're looking for help. I have 2 folks who are going to help out, but I would like to have some more. Folks can call me 630-279-3499. That's my home number, and I'd be happy and grateful to plug you into a spot.
Do you know what time slots you have available?
I'm primarily looking for from 1:30 to 3:30. 1:30 to 3:30.
Is that Saturday?
This coming Saturday.
Oh.
And there will be bike racks, kind of an area that's roped off. I'll have a tent there, claim checks to provide people as they drop their bikes off. So I think this is the first time we've tried this at a village, so no telling how many bikes we'll be handling, but you know, even if it's 30, 40, 50, it helps reduce the congestion in that area.
Pardon me for not understanding exactly. What would be the responsibilities of volunteers?
Okay, so a bike valet is like, basically you're riding your bike to the event, you're going to the bike valet, you're dropping your bike off, we put it in a rack, in a secure area for you, in a rack, we give you a check, we give you like a coat check.
Okay, like a ticket?
Exactly. When you're done at the event, you just go back and redeem your bike and go on your way. So, it's been tried in other communities, it's been successful. and we're hoping that it'll be successful.
And where is this going to be located?
I'm sorry, it'll be at Cortese Park.
Okay.
Just west of the Villa Avenue Business District. And last year there were about 420 people, so
Wow.
this year they're expecting more.
Okay.
And sorry I went too long,
No, that's okay.
That's all I have.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Bob, how long is Brewfest going on Saturday?
It's going from 2 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. But if you're inclined to do the early shift, we'd like to just folks to be there at 1:30, like 1:30 to 3:30.
Okay.
And then another shift, we're going from like 3:15 until 5:30.
Okay.
And I'm checking, I don't know at this point, but we may be able to provide you with a Brewfest pass, but at this point, I'm not sure. So, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Approval of July 26th minutes.
I move we approve the minutes for July 26th.
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Agenda, minutes for July 26th have been approved. We don't have August minutes because we didn't have a quorum, so those are unofficial notes. I just forward those on to you so that you have that information, what
Thank you.
transpired. Okay, old business. Do we want to review the ECC's goals for this year? I know we have a lot of them. Maybe we're not necessarily 2018 goals specifically. Some are short-term, some are long-term. I know we could address the clean your locker program. Although I know that we just finished that, so I don't really know that there's much to do with that. I know that that's one of the projected goals. And the other one,
We want to continue with the Green Champion Award, right?
yeah, the Green Champion Award. So I guess the question for that is, we want to start considering putting together the application, or do we want to go and, I know we have a few people that we've talked to in the last few months, that potential nominees. And if so, do we want to consider putting it in the Village Matters newsletter to drum up nominees?
When is do you know by chance the deadline to have it published in the next newsletter?
I don't know that information. I have the fall newsletter with me. I can see I don't know if they include that in the newsletter itself as to when it's due, but I can reach out to the public information officer and see if she has that information.
Do you already have a form that could be
We have
updated?
an old form, but I think it has to be converted in order to submit it to get it posted online.
Converted to,
I believe it has to be a DOC and it's a pub doc.
well, that leaves me out.
I can work on that.
Okay, thank you. I think I have the edited version, so I can retrieve that somewhere and then send it to you.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, and then I'll try to get it done by the next meeting,
Okay.
and then we can talk about timeframes.
Yeah, definitely, because I know that for the 2018, we'll give it in 2019. That's how we've been issuing it. So it will be, this year we did it on Earth Day. Is
We
that
did.
right? So we try and do it during an environmental significant day. So we could try and go and do that around Earth Day every year to have a goal as part of the goal.
Okay.
And then what are some of the other goals we have?
I think one of the goals, we were just shown a newspaper article about the environmental club. Is it a club at Willowbrook High School?
Oh, okay.
I think it might be a good goal to make a connection with that group and try to work on events together with them.
Yeah.
They were on the front page of the Independent, was it? I think Al just showed us that, so that might be a good goal to try to work on some joint projects like the Salt Creek, the street, help me out, River
Stream Street?
Stream Sweep. And the stream sweep is usually in May, right?
Yes.
So that might be a good objective.
One of the things, and it kind of goes with the Clean Lafayette program, we were talking about connecting with the high school environmental club and possibly the Key Club so that we can get volunteers to help collect and sort all the products that we have received. Because I know that Ellen and you both spent countless hours going through all the stuff that we received from that.
Right.
So that can go along. That can go along with the same concept. If we connect with Willowbrook High School at Environmental Club as well as the Key Club, we can work with them for both the Clean Your Locker as well as any events they have and support each other together. Maybe we can gain volunteers that way.
What would be a time frame? Like start now?
I don't. What would you recommend?
Well, because I'm thinking we need to assign someone
Right.
to do that. So what would require would be to just, what would be the goals of that? What would, if I would go, what would I be looking for?
I guess, would that be to reach out? I don't know what the club is with the Willowbrook High School for the environmental group. I don't even know what it would be called. So would that be to reach out to the high school principal?
Cool.
Yeah, Bob?
Thank you. So I had two children who were it's Students for a Better Environment.
Okay.
And there we go. The faculty advisor is Justine Briers, and I've reached out to her a couple of times with
just this year.
not great success, but there may be another avenue to get a response, and Commissioner Hill suggested maybe we could get some volunteers for the upcoming, the other item on our agenda, the pumpkin composting.
Yeah.
So, they also have my recollection is they have a yearly conference that they go to for student environmental clubs, and there's some sort of competition involved.
We just received the Willowbrook Independent from today, actually. It mentions the environmental club. It doesn't specify what the name is actually called. They just refer to it as the Willowbrook Environmental Club. And Justine Briers is, in fact, the sponsor.
So if I were to, what is our point here? To basically get volunteers?
I would say that you would see if there's any interest in partnering for events and increase advocacy for the environment in the village. And just see if there's any interest.
Okay,
Yeah, that works. If you feel comfortable doing that.
okay. I think the Key Club is a,
Mm-hmm. It's another
Big-
good avenue. to-
yes, yes.
Definitely, especially knowing that, didn't you say high school students here have to have so many community
Service
hours?
hours, yeah.
So that would really
Right.
work for them.
Right.
I know that as far as the pumpkin compost, Scarce often provides a volunteer, or like in the case of the last year and the year before last, we had the same student who was interested in volunteering for the event. So, but I mean, if it would be even better if we can connect with the schools and have students from this area connect and be more involved in the community here.
So if, for the pumpkin, how many people do you need?
We've had as many as 2, as little as 1.
Okay, so,
It depends on how many people come. I think last year we had less because of the season was exceptionally warm, so a lot of the pumpkins were deflating long before
Okay.
Halloween came about.
Okay.
Because the compost is always this Saturday after Halloween.
I don't know, I can, if it's all right for me to interrupt, as old business, I did check, I was asked to find out who has conservation clubs.
Oh, okay.
And both the middle schools do.
Okay. Jefferson and Jackson.
Schaefer does. North School does. Westmore does. York Center. And I did not hear back from Ardmore, but I will contact them again. So,
Can you go over that list again,
okay,
please?
Jackson and Jefferson,
Okay.
Schaefer, North, Westmore, and York Center, and I will follow up again with Ardmore.
Fantastic, thank you.
So I would say if I know the woman at Jefferson could get some help.
Volunteers. Yeah, when I was suggesting the volunteers, it doesn't necessarily have to be the high school. It could be middle school students
Right,
as well.
okay.
I don't know how helpful I know that elementary school students are certainly happy to help, but I don't know how
No.
how much
A little
they
bit.
can be that
Right,
they're younger.
Yeah.
Need more structure, maybe.
Yeah. Because I have a niece who's 9 and she's more than happy to help, but I don't know that anything. Younger kids are willing to help, but it requires more, like you said, structure. Another goal, and I don't know that we necessarily established it as a goal, but it was when the repair cafe that Betty Amore had brought to our attention at the beginning of the year. I didn't know if we wanted to still address that or get more research about that.
I think we need more research on that particular.
Right.
With the pollinator, best pollinator, with the partnering with the Pride Commission, would that be a goal, Justin?
Yeah, I think that's still a goal for either potentially tail end of 2018, if not 2019, because I know that the Community Pride Commission, when we met them earlier this year, wanted to address a joint effort of some kind of recycling, like a large-scale recycling program or recycling event,
Kind of
rather.
like a green fair.
Exactly, and I think that they were looking towards like spring of 2019 to kind of correlate with the whole spring cleaning theme. So potentially, it might be best to revisit that in the springtime with the Community Pride Commission, maybe tackle both at once, kind of do a 2-for-1, especially now that the season is beginning to change a little, weather is beginning to change due to seasons. It might be a little late to kind of inspect the best lawns and landscapes at this point.
Right.
So potentially, I think it might be best in 2019 to partner with that. Yes.
Excuse me, the Pride Commission just last Monday gave out their landscape awards.
Oh, no kidding.
So, yeah, so,
Shoot.
Okay.
yeah, their landscaping awards for this year.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It would have been nice to,
Been informed.
Yeah.
yeah, to been informed of that.
I did attend the last Pride Commission before the awards, and they were evaluating different properties, et cetera, different residence homes. So, yeah, they were well underway with that.
Okay.
So we'll maybe, we'll have to discuss it with them as to when they start evaluating that so that we can then
Timeframe.
create a pollinator award.
Right.
Because it usually takes a few months to plan
to go
that.
through and
Yeah,
you know,
to plan.
seek nominations and then review the properties.
Yeah. So maybe even though it could be not necessarily a goal for this year, but a goal for next year.
I think those are pretty good goals.
We also have some long-term goals that are not necessarily 2018 specific. I'm looking at the minutes from January where we talked about
Right.
reviewing the ordinances that have an environmental impact and proposed changes.
Yeah, that's going to take a long time.
Yeah,
That's an ongoing.
that's a
That's a
long-term
long-term
goal.
ongoing
It's
goal.
not a
Yeah.
current goal. Improve the environmental information on the village website. So, not immediate goal, but still a goal nonetheless. Rethink how we encourage the village to recycle at major events.
Oh, boy. These are,
I know. Well, like I said, they're not necessarily specific to this year. It's some are more long-term, some are some are more immediate.
I actually feel that the upcoming Brewfest would have been a good one to kind of get our feet wet on that. That would have been a good one, especially if they're going to give out plastic cups. And
Right.
I mean, Bob, maybe I'm obviously unfamiliar with how the scheme of it is, but from what I briefly read in the news article, looks like people are either going to get a pass or a wristband of some sort, and then that entitles them to the craft beer. I mean, can they take it on the street, or is that allowed? Or are they can they walk between establishments?
I didn't attend last year, but I think you're kind of confined to a certain area.
Okay.
Kind of like
Yeah,
a beer
and they-
garden.
and they-
A
it's
beer garden area.
It's kind of a souvenir, from what I understand. It's a souvenir cup or stein that you can get a certain amount.
It's a taster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Couple
people
ounces.
to encourage people to drink in moderation.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that would have been a good one to, especially if they're going to give out plastic or anything that is potentially recyclable, to start separating those out. Besides Brewfest, what is the next upcoming
Joyful Traditions.
Joyful
in
Traditions in
December. And that's actually on the agenda as well.
Let's shoot for that. Let's see what we can work out.
I
Well,
know.
we can obviously discuss that in new business.
Right.
Let's do that.
Let's see.
I could suggest that we, list our goals and then start assigning like a time frame for
Mhm.
each
Absolutely.
goal, and then we have a calendar.
Of ongoing event, or not events, but ongoing calendar of what we're tackling at
And then-
any given moment.
Right, and then we're looking ahead to what we need to just start knocking off, on our list.
That's a smart idea.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. It's just one way of handling it, so you get things done.
Right, yeah,
So,
definitely.
could you send that to me electronically? I can just draft something.
Yes, so,
I do it in my job anyway, as far as.
I've listed,
And
like
this
to
was
do.
actually Bob's suggestion when you were library board trustee, having like a time frame and a calendar of, what needs to be done in certain months. And then you're always looking ahead to meet those deadlines and planning for it. So,
Okay, so I guess we need to figure out what dates we want to set for each item.
right.
Want to do that collectively?
Well, what I could do is go through it and draft it
Okay,
and then bring it back to the group. And then you can say yay or nay.
that sounds like a good idea.
And
Okay,
then it just makes the meeting a little bit,
it runs smoother.
yeah,
Okay, we can do that.
all right. Okay.
Do you want me to?
Allowing for prep time and,
Yeah,
yes, okay.
right,
Doesn't sneak up on us?
right.
Right.
Get the applications out in November so we
Yes.
can review them in January, so, okay.
Yeah, so address the Green Champion and
Yes.
all the other goals that we have listed,
Right.
and maybe,
Find out the timeframes
Narrow
of
them-
the
narrow some down.
newsletter, get all that
right.
down and drafted so we have a,
So you want me to contact this information officer to find out what time when the Village Matters for winter is due,
yeah,
so that we can then
Incorporate
assess. And we can also reiterate the notification that there is pen recycling available at Public Works.
mm-hmm,
Because I know that's an ongoing thing. Once that bin has been filled, then we would have to then send it back and get another one. All right, well then, I'll send you that. We'll compile based on all the different minutes, I'll compile a list to you, and then we can figure that out.
okay.
So do we want to jump to the Community Pride Commission and Best Pollinator Garden? We have to figure out when we want to talk to them about that. And reach out to them and see when did they start doing that process. Do you feel comfortable reaching out to
Yeah,
them?
absolutely.
Okay. Okay, new business. Scarce's annual pumpkin compost is Saturday, November 3rd. Bob just said that he arranged for a dumpster with Roy Strom to have that compost. Do we have to actually fill out an application through Scarce?
That's all going to be handled. That's all being handled.
Okay.
Yeah, and they'll deliver the dumpster on Friday, November 2nd, so it'll be here for Saturday, November 3rd. And the paperwork that needs to go in is being handled through the village manager's office.
Thank you.
What time?
Typically goes from 9 a.m. till noon.
And usually Scarce provides signage
Yeah.
to put out in front of the village hall, so they know, because it's usually right here in the parking lot. Go
And
ahead.
Madam Chair, I just in the past, we've kind of done little impromptu things to make it kind of fun, but it might be helpful if commissioners thought of, I don't know, pumpkin tosses from a certain area. You give out a prize to the person who can, I don't know. It's kind of fun to smash pumpkins.
Oh, yeah. I would love that.
So just to kind of make the whole event fun, and also I think it's they're on Highland, the Congregational Church.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are they gonna?
They have their pumpkin. That's a fundraising event for them, and we kind of help them by picking up what's left over.
Right.
And last year it was kind of sloppy. Because, as you said, the pumpkins were breaking down.
Right.
But we did pick up a lot. We did help them out by picking up, and staff helped as well. If it's okay with you, I'll be happy to contact the church to say,
We're doing it again.
we'll pick up whatever you have left over.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I attended the compost last year. It was cold and rainy, but it was still fun. Unfortunately, I will not be in town that weekend, so I encourage commissioners and obviously the public to attend and volunteer. I think last year we had some student volunteers getting some hours for probably National Honor Society or something similar to that.
Right.
So it was good, and the little kids always like to throw their own pumpkins away and get on mom and dad's shoulders and kind of toss it in. It was fun.
So are you kind of asking we should come up with some ideas on a fun thing?
Yeah, I mean, it could be
Catapult.
simple as having a different line for kids or whatever, the adults, you know. I mean, we could have candy, you know, so, I mean, you know.
Let's have some leftover.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be after Halloween, but just to kind of make the event fun, you know. And one year, Roy Strawn did make a nice banner for us to put on the dumpster.
I can write a press release again and submit it to the Independent and other local newspapers to promote it.
Can we have a sign at that pumpkin sale?
There are flyers that we did
We can
distribute.
download from Spears.
Yeah, and I do have signs that we can put on the street to
Okay.
let people know that pumpkin composting
Right.
will take place.
Thinking people who are going there to buy it, if they knew,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe we can provide flyers to the church so that they can promote the recycling for anyone who purchases pumpkins, that they know that.
and their friends and neighbors.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I saved last year's flyer, so
I can download it and update it with our current information and send it to you, and then you can print out new ones with the new date. If that
Perfect.
works for you.
Sure, perfect.
Okay.
So come up with some ideas if we can. Okay.
Okay, so I think the Scarce's annual cooking oil recycling, their website didn't indicate, because it's not until, I think it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving is when it takes place. So I'm guessing that it's going to be the 24th, but Scarce doesn't have anything updated yet on their website. We actually have cooking oil recycling at Salt Creek Sanitary District year-round. So my question is, do we really want to participate if we already have that option? I know that last year the village did provide a container for people to put cooking oil in. We didn't initially plan on participating, but we ended up doing so anyway. I'm wondering if it's just better to direct people to the cooking oil recycling at Salt Creek Sanitary District. Especially, and I'm wondering if also in that same vein, is it possible to post it on our utility bill to remind people that after Thanksgiving they can recycle. Well, they can recycle at any time, but especially after Thanksgiving.
On what bill?
The utility bill?
The water bill,
Trying to do a flyer in the water bill.
Or like, you know, where they
Yeah, I
have
mean,
the
mine-
notes at the bottom?
So mine are sent electronically, so I don't know how we would be able to do that with I guess an e-notice, but honestly, I always just check the link as to how much do I owe this month.
Okay, you don't actually have a paper bill then.
There is a village-wide email that goes out occasionally,
Okay,
so we could ask that it be included in that.
and we can also post it, ask the public information officer to post it on Facebook.
that sounds good.
Okay.
Yes.
And the sanitary district the gates will be open on the day after.
No,
No.
they're typically not open.
They're not open.
But I did speak with the business manager, Deb, and I can't remember Deb's last name. I could certainly reach out to her and see if they could make some special provisions
Okay.
to be open the Saturday after,
Right.
but typically they're not.
But they're open Monday through Friday,
They're
during
open Monday
their
through Friday,
business
yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can drop it off anytime during regular business hours. I don't know
And
that
it's-
necessarily have to do it on that Saturday. Go ahead.
And it's been fairly successful. They did indicate that the container that they have is pretty full, so that they were going to ask for a pickup because a number of people were dropping off cooking oil, so.
That's awesome. That's great news.
Yes, that is good news.
So,
So we would encourage people to drop it off Friday after Thanksgiving.
yes,
Got it.
and not Saturday, because I don't see me thinking of environmentally friendly. Why have a separate participation of a special day when we have it year round?
Well, and it awakens people, encourages them year-round to
Right.
go there.
Exactly. I mean, we can send a reminder. So as far as the electronic newsletter, is the public information officer the same person that addresses that as well as the Facebook post?
I would think so, yeah.
Okay. I'll mention that. And I'll also ask if we can get it in the village newsletter too. For both. A reminder of taking your cooking oil to Salt Creek Sanitary District.
Gotcha.
Okay, then my next thing on the agenda is joyful traditions. So, I was going to reach out to Alicia, who is at the chamber, who is responsible for the joyful traditions, to find out what we normally provide paper products that are environmentally friendly for the joyful traditions event, but when I talked to her last year, they had enough products that we didn't have to invest in anymore. But I want to reach out to her now so that we don't wait till the last minute to address it. Make sure that they see what they need and find out.
Right.
Do we want to approve now how much we want to invest in it, or do we want to wait and see how much she needs before we?
I say, find out how much she needs.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got two meetings before we technically would need to provide them
October
money.
and
So
November.
let's see what they currently have.
Okay. I'll reach out to her and find out what they need, and then I'll come back and let you know. Alicia Bailey, I believe is her name.
Right.
Any other new business?
Yeah, I can provide an update. Not that it was one of the 2018 goals, but it was something that I discussed at the last two meetings. So I reached out to the general Harley Davidson, I think it's called Windy City Harley, kind of runs all of the Harley Davidson vendors within the greater Chicagoland area, upwards of even Milwaukee, where the headquarters are. They loved the idea of doing some kind of presentation for their electric bike, which they're calling Livewire. It debuted at the 115th anniversary rally in Milwaukee over the Labor Day weekend. Allegedly got very positive responses. I know they did like a Facebook video of the demonstration of at least talking about the bike and turning it on and showing the features of it. It's very different than what a traditional Harley is. You don't have the very loud sound. It sounds different. It looks different. It's definitely styled for more urban, short distance environments. But they were absolutely thrilled to have the idea of a demonstration, at least in terms of kind of advertising with and working with the Environmental Concerns Commission. I'm going to meet with someone tentatively in November for a demonstration in 2019 when they're actually ready to be sold on the market. I would obviously need to discuss, what the potential street value is, and they'll probably go over that, the features, and then do some test runs. And then I imagine if you have your permit and or license, you could probably get on and ride one and see, if you're interested in purchasing or potentially purchasing one. And then they can go over different color schemes, because just like a car, you can customize any kind of bike to your liking when it's kind of off the line. So hopefully, I imagine late spring will be the demonstration for good weather after the very rainy season, and then hopefully they'll be priced competitively. What I did find interesting, though, is that I talked to a dealer when I was traveling in Texas. There happened to be a Harley dealership very close to my hotel, just very coincidentally, and I started talking to that the manager slash owner of that establishment, and he indicated that Harley is highly considering, if not has already passed, a rule that for any dealer to sell the Livewire bikes and then anything else that comes subsequently, because apparently the Livewire is just the first of potentially a long line of electric products, they are going to have to install 3 charging, like fast charging towers that you, as long as you own a bike, you would be that specific Harley, which makes me believe that it's going to be a specific kind of outlet or input jack, rather for a charging mechanism, that they have to install 3 charging towers. I keep hitting this thing. So that if any biker wanted to be able to charge it for whatever capacity, it'd be a quick charge. And they're hoping that the quick charge would take less than a half an hour to get from 0 to 100%.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Very neat.
So, which means that obviously if Wildfire or any other local Harley dealer, local to our area, is going to invest in it, they've got to, I think, have the requisite knowledge that this is going to at least sell at minimum 3 bikes to the public of that area.
That makes sense.
So I think Harley is kind of investing in itself on that one.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Any other new business?
I would like to just share this and for consideration. I have several friends who are in the position that we're in where we have inherited or bought tools, which resulted in numerous screwdrivers, whatever, pliers, in a home, more than you need. And several friends have said the same thing. And I wondered about some sort of collection or an event where we would, people who want to give them away or sell them reasonably would then, we would host it at a rec building or something where we would provide, people would bring what they had, and then make them available to whoever needs them. I don't know about liability on if the head of the hammer comes off. I don't know about those kind of things, but I have heard the need over and over with friends my age of what do we do with these?
Okay.
Besides putting them on one of the websites to sell them, which many of them are not interested in doing. They would like to see the tools well used. They, I think we could get support in a village like ours that has this kind of movement of older people finishing up their home ownership and not needing all those things anymore, and then younger people moving in with the need. So I don't know that we want to add it to our goals, but I would think this would be under our
Purview.
Yes.
Would that be a part of its piggyback of the Green Fair with the High Commission? As a possibility of an offer?
A separate section or?
Yeah, because it's still environmentally friendly, but it kind of goes along with the idea of sharing products that you want to offer that's environmentally friendly, so that you don't have to buy new ones.
Yes. So I don't know what that means as far as I said, if the head of the hammer comes off, or if you buy a toaster, you take a toaster from there that...
Well, it's kind of like a garage sale. You're
Right.
not quite sure what
I think at this point, instead of it being buyer beware, it's taker beware. There's no liability on the behalf of the individual that donates the used tools or the used appliances.
Okay.
It's kind of like Restore, if you will. Habitat for Humanity Restore.
Well, and I did hear that Lombard had done something. This is not official, but that Lombard had something like that, and that Habitat for Humanity was able to use
Okay.
things that were there. But individual people trying to arrange that, it doesn't happen so easily as it would at an event like this.
So either we possibly provide it as part of the green fair as an option, or have a separate event and possibly we can get a sponsor, such as maybe Habitat for Humanity Restore, or maybe Restore, maybe that's another option, is to, I know Habitat for Humanity, you donate items and then they sell it. So is that is that what you're looking?
well.
Are you familiar with that?
Not with that part of Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah, so there's a Restore in Addison, and you can go and donate household items, including tools, and then they go and resell it for a lesser,
They,
and then the money goes back into the nonprofit.
I see, yes,
So you could do a tool drive
Yeah,
yes, yes.
and then bring it over to Habitat.
and yeah, we could all donate them to Habitat.
I'm happy to have it be an exchange too, if there's some young family that is looking at
Is
That
in
the
need,
expense
is in
of
need
this-
of it, but
right,
can't necessarily pay for the
Right, right.
pay for it.
right.
So, question for you regarding the tools: is it? You said it's screwdrivers and hammers, but is it also like appliances, like a hand sander or something
I
like
would
that?
think,
Okay.
I would think, yes, yes, because that.
Table saw,
yes.
etc. Just thought I'd address, maybe clarify.
Yeah, I would like us to consider it, and
I think it's a great idea.
just, the mechanics of it, et cetera, we would figure out, but,
Right.
Right.
I like the
Okay.
idea.
okay.
We can put that on the calendar if everyone is cool with that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna call it tool drive if everyone is cool with that.
Then I just do have a question. I know it's getting late. What do we want to do with the fact that these schools do have clubs? Did we determine that?
No, we didn't determine it. We just
Okay.
we just reviewed that what schools had them.
Okay.
Do we? Go ahead.
We can incorporate it into our strategic plan.
Okay, okay, to find a way to support them, to,
Right.
I'd like to see them come to a meeting and
Right.
give us suggestions of how we can help.
So, will we reach out?
I have,
Do you have the contact information for each of them?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So then maybe
They can
we
send
could each
the-
tackle it by sending an email to them and saying, hey, we would love for you to attend one of the upcoming ECC meetings and let us know how we can help you to be beneficial.
Okay.
Is that going to the liaison at the school then?
These are the people who are being the,
Sponsor?
yes.
Yeah, sponsors, and if, you know, the students don't have anything going on at
Okay.
7 p.m. on the last Thursday or fourth Thursday of a month, then
Right.
they're welcome to attend as well.
Students and,
Students,
Sponsors.
sponsors, faculty,
Anyone who's interested in
students and
participating.
parents, obviously.
Yeah.
You know.
okay. And the goal is to find out how we can help them.
Yeah.
What can we do?
How can we support?
Okay.
Find out what they're doing currently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Around the table? Bob, you want to start?
I just wanted to, and I'm sure you'll be doing this as well, thank the Cable Commission for broadcasting the commission meeting, and I'm sure you're going to say this as well. We need commissioners, and just no special expertise, just a willingness to serve, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Sandy?
Nothing tonight.
Ellen?
Well, I want to reinforce what you're saying, and just, we have a lot of ideas. We just need more manpower to accomplish it and really spread the word.
Justin?
Yes, I do. Just let me finish up these minutes.
Sorry, go ahead.
So, the reason I brought it up earlier is I was in Texas, and I was in Texas because my uncle turned 60. Only uncle that I actually have, biological uncle between my either side of my family. He survived a very malicious strain of leukemia, and was only blessed currently to have survived what would have been terminal through a stem cell bone marrow transplant. And the organization that he used is Gift of Life. They're a national organization, and it's quite non-invasive to sign up and have your bone marrow tested. It's literally just a Q-tip swab that you do 4 different ones. You know, it doesn't matter what side of the inner cheek. 4 separate ones. You put them in the little test tubes and you send them off. It's free. So just as you would be a blood donor and possibly a organ and tissue donor through the Secretary of State, this is a private not-for-profit organization. So I'd encourage anyone to look into the organization and consider becoming a donor for bone marrow.
Do they have a website?
They do. I believe it's just giftoflife.org.
Okay.
Yeah, giftoflife.org. One
I think
word.
they're along the highway out there, along 355,
Oh,
going north.
did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're a national organization. They've got locations everywhere.
So glad to hear that your uncle is.
Yeah, it was rough for about 2.5 years, and his white cells were literally down to 1. You know, you have a count of anywhere between 0 dead and 40, and he was down to 1.
Oh my goodness. Do they share with you who?
So they do, but you both, the recipient and the donor, have to consent, and then you have to wait upwards of like 1.5 years or 2 years to be able to meet in person and find out information about each other.
Okay.
Because obviously the situation, and I think the concern is the bone marrow stem cells might take, but it might take a long time for it to actually work.
Okay.
Luckily, my uncle bounced back quite quickly, so they just use that time as a buffer to make sure that the transplant works.
That makes sense. Well, thank you for sharing.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention I recently went to Kemmel Beach, which is part of the dunes in Northwest Indiana, and we were there a few years ago, and it was a beautiful sandy beach. And we went there because I was celebrating my uncle's 68th birthday this weekend, and it was completely gone, the area that we were at. Apparently the erosion due to climate change has destroyed the beach, and they had to put these huge boulders on a big portion of it to prevent the erosion getting worse. And like I said, apparently if you want to research it, you can look it up. I believe it's spelled Kemil beach, and there was severe erosion going on. We went to the other side, and the area that used to be sandy is now rocks. But it was still a very cool experience, but I was really surprised. And then the other thing I was going to bring up is that the library had this it came out in July. It's called the Japanese Art and Science. I know I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. Shinrin Yoku, Forest Bathing, How Trees Can Help You Find Health and Happiness. I haven't started reading it because I just picked it up, but I thought it was very cool and very environmental.
It's currently at our library.
Yeah. Well, I currently have it. But yes,
Well,
it's
okay.
currently
It's available.
It's currently available at the Villa Park Library. And the other thing I was going to mention, as Bob has said before, the Environmental Concerns Commission is seeking. We have 3 potential seats that are open. So if you're interested in doing anything environmental, whether it's good recycling or gardening or anything that supports the environment, we'd love to have you. If you're interested, you can either email me at jespivak@gmail.com, or you can visit the village's website, www.invillapark.com, to download an application and you can either drop it off here at the Village Hall at 20 South Ardmore Avenue, or you can mail it. So we'd love to have anyone who's interested. So thank you, and also thank you for the Cable Commission for televising this meeting. So are we ready for adjournment? Move to adjourn.
Yeah, move to adjourn at 8:41 p.m.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.